Okay, today is 17th of August and we're on the chapter 36, Vedana Samyutta. I come to Sutta 36.7. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Vesali in the great wood in the hall with the peak roof. Then in the evening, the Blessed One emerged from seclusion and went to the sick ward, where he sat down in the appointed seat and addressed the monks thus: "Monks, a monk should await his time, mindful and clearly comprehending." This is a translation here. I prefer to use recollected and mindful. This is our instruction to you. And how monks? Is a monk recollected? Here, monks. A monk dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, mindful, recollected, having put away covetousness and grief in regard to the world. Similarly, he dwells contemplating feelings in feelings, mind in mind, Dhamma in Dhamma, ardent, clearly comprehending, recollected, mindful, having put away covetousness and grief in regard to the world. It is in such a way that a monk is recollected. And how monks does a monk exercise mindfulness or full awareness? Here, monks. A monk is one who acts with full awareness when going forward and returning, and looking ahead and looking aside, and drawing in and extending the limbs, when wearing his robes and carrying his outer robe and bowl, when eating, drinking, chewing his food and tasting, when defecating and urinating, when walking, standing, sitting, falling asleep, waking up, speaking and keeping silent. It is in such a way that a monk exercises full awareness or mindfulness. A monk should await his time, recollected and mindful. This is our instruction to you. Stop here for a moment. So here, one day, the Buddha went to this place where the sick monks stay, and then he told the monks that they should practice sati sampajanya. Sati, the translation is recollection. That means the definition here is how is a monk sato? How is a monk recollected? Here, monks. A monk dwells contemplating the body in the body, ardent, mindful, recollected, having put away covetousness and grief in regard to the world. Similarly, he dwells contemplating feelings, mind, Dhamma, ardent, mindful, recollected, having put away covetousness and grief. So that is how to practice sati. So sati is not general mindfulness. Sati, if we use the word mindfulness, it is a specific mindfulness directed only to four things, to the body, feelings, mind, and Dhamma. So Dhamma, of course, is the Buddha's teachings. So this sati can be said to be recollection. That means putting your mind only in these four objects of recollection, or you can say sati means remembering, to put your attention or your mindfulness only on four things. The first one is dwell contemplating the body in the body. Probably it means that means you're contemplating body in the body. That means your mind is not scattered. You're not like contemplating body among your thoughts. If you have a lot of thoughts or stray thoughts, then you might attempt to contemplate the body, for example, the breath body, when you practice anapanasati, trying to be mindful of the breath. But sometimes a beginner will have a lot of stray thoughts. So when you have a lot of stray thoughts, you are trying to contemplate the body among the thoughts. But here it says contemplating the body in the body, nowhere else. So it's a one-pointed attention on the body to the exclusion of everything else. Similarly, contemplating feelings, mind and Dhamma. Dhamma is the Buddha's teachings, and actually among all the four things, the Dhamma is the most important, because later you will find out that out of 5 occasions in which a person attains liberation or arahanthood, 4 of them have to do with contemplating Dhamma. So that is sati, how to practice sati, contemplating only 4 things. And how to practice sampajanya, sati sampajanya. Sampajanya, the translation is full awareness or mindfulness. So here the Buddha says if a person practices sampajanya, then he is very mindful of his actions when going forward and returning, when looking ahead, looking aside, when drawing in and extending his limbs, when wearing his robes, carrying his bowl, and eating, drinking, urinating, walking, standing, sitting, everything is mindful. So this is the meaning of sampajanya, mindful. So sometimes people confuse. They say that sati is mindful. It's actually sampajanya. The meaning is mindful. So the Buddha says to the sick monks, you should wait your time to pass away. But in the meantime, you should practice sati sampajanya. Monks, while a monk dwells thus, recollected and mindful, diligent, ardent and resolute, if there arises in him a pleasant feeling, he understands thus, there has arisen in me a pleasant feeling. Now that is dependent, not independent. Dependent on what? Dependent on this very body. But this body is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen. So when the pleasant feeling has arisen in dependence on a body that is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, how could it be permanent? He dwells contemplating impermanence in the body and in pleasant feeling. He dwells contemplating vanishing, contemplating fading away, contemplating cessation, contemplating relinquishment. Stop here for a moment. So here he contemplates impermanence in the body and in the pleasant feeling, and how they can vanish away, fade away, they can cease. So he should contemplate also letting go, relinquishment of them. As he dwells thus, the underlying tendency to lust in regard to the body and in regard to pleasant feeling is abandoned by him. Let's stop here for a moment. So the Buddha says, if a monk practices sati sampajanya, and then when pleasant feeling arises, he knows that pleasant feeling is only temporary. It depends on conditions. It depends on the existence of the body and other factors. But the body is impermanent. So the body is impermanent. The pleasant feeling is also impermanent. So he contemplates how they can pass away. So if you can see impermanence, then the underlying tendency to lust for the body and for pleasant feeling is abandoned in him. Monks, while the monk dwells thus, recollected and mindful, diligent, ardent and resolute, if there arises in him a painful feeling, he understands thus, there has arisen in me a painful feeling. Now that is dependent, not independent. Dependent on what? Dependent on just this body. But this body is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen. So when the painful feeling has arisen in dependence on a body that is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, how could it be permanent? He dwells contemplating impermanence in the body and in painful feeling. He dwells contemplating vanishing, contemplating fading away, contemplating cessation, contemplating relinquishment. As he dwells thus, the underlying tendency to aversion in regard to the body and in regard to painful feeling is abandoned by him. Monks, while a monk dwells thus, recollected and mindful, diligent, ardent and resolute, if there arises in him a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands thus, there has arisen in me a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. Now that is dependent, not independent. Dependent on what? Dependent on just this body. But this body is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen. So when the neither painful nor pleasant feeling has arisen in dependence on a body that is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, how could it be permanent? He dwells contemplating impermanence in the body and in neither painful nor pleasant feeling. He dwells contemplating vanishing, contemplating fading away, contemplating cessation, contemplating relinquishment. As he dwells thus, the underlying tendency to ignorance in regard to the body and in regard to neither painful nor pleasant feeling is abandoned by him. If he feels a pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not held to. He understands it is not delighted in. If he feels a painful feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not held to. He understands it is not delighted in. If he feels a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. He understands it is not held to. He understands it is not delighted in. If he feels a pleasant feeling, he feels it detached. If he feels a painful feeling, he feels it detached. If he feels a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, he feels it detached. When he feels a feeling, here it says terminating with the body, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with the body. When he feels a feeling terminating with life, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with life. He understands, with the breakup of the body, following the exhaustion of life, all that is felt, not being delighted in, will become cooled right here. Just as monks, an oil lamp burns in dependence on the oil and the wick, and with the exhaustion of the oil and the wick, it is extinguished through lack of fuel. So too monks, when a monk understands a feeling terminating with the body, terminating with life, he understands, with the breakup of the body following the exhaustion of life, all that is felt, not being delighted in, will become cool right here. That's the end of the sutta. This last part now, where it says, when he feels a feeling terminating with the body, it's a bit hard to understand what's a feeling terminating with the body. But the Pali Text Society translation says, when he feels a feeling that his bodily endurance has reached its limit, he understands that he so feels. When he feels a feeling that life has reached its limit, he understands that he so feels. So the first part now, according to the Pali Text Society, that his bodily endurance has reached its limit, maybe enduring the pain has reached the limit. And the second one is he knows when the life is going to end. So this sutta was spoken for the monks who were in the sick ward. All of them sick, some of them seriously sick. So the Buddha is telling them how to face death, to be recollected and mindful. Recollected means to put their attention on the 4 stations of sati or satipatthana, and not to think of unwholesome thoughts. And then on top of that, to practice sampajanya, mindfulness of the body actions.